Summit, I get to learn a lot of history, which is my favorite subject, and I get to go to a lot of historic places that I never even knew existed.
It's basically trying to preserve historic and other parts of communities and trying to incorporate transportation without taking away from the environment and the community.
Just a group of kids learning about the transportation in Colorado, well, that's our topic this week, and the preservation of historical sites, and I got involved with it through my school, and I'm glad I came on it. I've learned so much.
Welcome to 4 Mile Historic Park. We're the site of Denver's oldest standing house on 10 acres, built in 1859. And our mission here is to interpret Western history and preservation to a diverse audience.
So you are going to learn about the wagons and the different transportation methods that people had to come out west, as well as cooking along the trail and find out the things that you would have, what you have to carry with you in order to migrate out west. You're also going to learn about some of the reasons why people came. This would cost about $40, and you would try and fit your whole life in here. You guys think you could fit your house in here? At most, you could take one thing with you. Let me know if you notice anything interesting about this one.
It would have been your job to pick this up off the prairie every day and get it to a dry place, usually the southern exposure of your wagon or your home. Would you take this, please, and pass it on? So this wonderful material kept many, many families alive, particularly during the hard, harsh, cold winters of the Midwest and the High Plains. Bison dung, it burns a bit like a charcoal briquette. So it burns kind of slowly, it gives off a lot of heat. It's generally, once it gets going, pretty smokeless. And so this portion of this is just for...
Hot plate. Hot plate.
It's pretty good considering you cooked it with buffalo.
Now if you like it, why don't we use a term from the 1860s. So instead of saying it's awesome or it's good, I want you to say it is capital.
It's capital.
It's capital. It's capital.
It's capital.
It's capital.
I think it was corn, butter, what else do you think? Eggs and a little bit of sugar
And flour.
Flour. It's pretty good.
This is Denver's oldest standing house, and everything in this is a log house. You can see the log construction in the walls, and the beams are all cut with a hand axe. This is a bedroom of the owner. She and her daughter lived here, and at night they would close the door, and this was the only private place they had.
Well, one of the things when you do a restoration project, you want to make sure that when you do something like that, you show what's new and what's replaced versus trying to pretend that it's old. So that particular piece in the tavern was something that was important to identify for people coming after to see what it looked like.
So the 49 gold rush happened in 1849 in California. Colorado had a gold rush 10 years later in 1858, 1859. Train came out to Denver because by this time there were hundreds of thousands of people who had come out to Denver City at the time looking for gold.
Iron pyrite.
It's 100% fool's gold.
She said gold was more of like a yellowish color, and I found a rock that looked like gold, but it was too like opaque, like see-through kind of to be gold.
I thought the cooking was pretty cool, where we made corn fritters. Pretty cool. The house was pretty impressive. It's over 100 years old, so that's really impressive.
We do interpretive Native American dancing, and we've been dancing for about 77 years now.
about you guys and what you can teach everybody else. The reason I'm glad to be here and the reason I'm glad you're here is because the most important thing that is going to happen this week is we're going to hear from all of you. And we're going to hear what you think about history and historic preservation and why that's important.
The Colorado Youth Summits are really excellent in providing us opportunities to practice things that we can take back to our own communities. Public speaking, putting together really good presentations, learning how to just speak with legislators and get our ideas across in an intelligent manner.
One of the main projects that we're working on right now is the widening of I-70. And I think it's important to remember that I-70 is a historic element in its own right.
Right now we're at the Georgetown Loop train, getting ready to go on a short hike and then come back and go through Silver Plume and go down to Georgetown.
This gives you a pretty good view across the way of the town of Silver Plume. Silver Plume was a miners' town. Silver Plume was incorporated in 1881, about 2 decades after the town of Georgetown. If you can try to imagine this scene without I-70, because I-70 has formed a huge visual barrier. It has essentially cut the town in half. How would you feel and what would you do about it? And when somebody came along and started talking about expanding that highway.
It's definitely a concern for the people who've lived here a long time. And we were talking earlier about people kind of come up to the mountains to escape from civilization, and then the road kind of follows them. So it kind of destroys the peace of the mountains. But it's definitely important because all of the towns live off the tourism. So it's a lot of give and take, like what's more important, like the funding of the town or the peacefulness of it.
This railroad was very profitable in its early years, bringing miners, their families, and supplies up to the mountain communities. This railroad utilized shade or gear locomotives to the 6th century. They continued to run a few freight trains. As a point of reference, 3 of our cars is about 100 feet.
Some of the most bizarre places that you'll find, these are all actual places, and has taken pictures of them and then placed them on a map. Just take a couple minutes and you can look at this or you can look at the one across the way. When they built this airport, they wanted to make sure that they could expand in the future. And it may not be for 50 years or 60 years or whatever, but currently we have 6 runways and we can expand to 12 runways. This is a model of what the expansion is going to be. This is where the hotel and the train station will be, right out here.
So it won't go any further than that pit right out there?
No, it'll probably go much closer.
This morning you were on a train, right? Now, this afternoon you're in an airport with airlines. Those are forms of transportation. And as the years went on, the first form of transportation was stagecoach. Do you know what's here? One of the last stagecoach stops before you would get to Denver, and it's about a half a mile to a mile right off of one of our runways on the east side.
How are they taking an active role in preserving cultural, historical, and archaeological areas and sites?
We made sure that when this airport was being built, that everything was taken care of, everything was preserved, and anything that was here, because this was a lot of Native American hunting area. Keep in mind, when they start digging here, 60 million years ago, this was covered by water, and there were a lot of fossils here. And you'll see a lot of those fossils throughout the airport.
TIA number 1!
The City Hall meeting Friday is about sharing our ideas on how we can help improve Colorado's transportation, along with not damaging historic buildings and helping preserve them more.
Both, so you want to kind of connect the commuter train that they're talking about taking out to DIA and catch that kind of monorail at Union Station. So like you can ride the light rail in, you can ride the commuter train in, you can ride the monorail all into downtown, and it all leaves from that big hub of Union Station.
The casino buses, you go to that one station they have 2 or 3 buses parked in the back of the parking lot.
Okay.
They take you up for the day and then they bring you back down to the station.
Right.
So all you got to do is drive to the station and everything's taken care of from there.
But you can now say that you've been in one of the most historic buildings, and you can also say that you've been where Truman's been, Roosevelt's been, Eisenhower's been. This has been a presidential building too.
This is all about really your future, and all the people who are working on this are thinking about the future of transportation, how this city works, and how we're going to change our lives. You're the generation that will sort of reap the benefits of all that, and I think you ought to keep that in mind as you go through this exercise today.
What a fun thing. That's a great idea.
Yeah, how much space?
Along with the office space upstairs, we wanted to have big event spaces. So that way we could have big events where people are paying a lot of money, like prom. So what you could do is bring in some, an inner cafe, a restaurant that is based on the historical basis of this whole place. So we could make it so that it was the original color, which was blue and yellow, and change the benches so that they are the same stain as they were in the early 1900s. So when you walk in here, you really feel as though you've just walked back in time.
And a lot of the things that you've talked about today are things that would be attractive for people, reasons why they would want to be here.
What year was the Denver branch of the NAACP founded?
1915.
What type of revival, architectural revival?
Do you think to get to your next destination, head southwest on Lawrence Street towards 28th Street, which is this way.
We are on a scavenger hunt in the 5 Points neighborhood right now. We don't have enough time to finish, but we got to see a really cool school and the neighborhood, and it was really pretty.
You guys are going to help us pick one, and that's called our preferred alternative. At that point, we go back to the public. We say, all right, we've taken a hard look. Here are all the benefits. Here are the impacts for this preferred alternative. But we're going to also show you how we're going to make up for it.
If we were to go with the realignment, basically the structure that you see on the current alignment now, the big viaduct, the bridge, the piers, and all of that, would be going right through here, right up against the cemetery.
So the first alternative we'll vote on is the do nothing.
Okay.
So all in favor, stand up. 37. Okay.
The southern shift.
Okay, all in favor of that, stand up. Okay, we're going to start over here again. No voting twice.
27. 28.
Woo, close. Pretty close. Okay. So I think
They have the same issues that you guys we've heard from you today, and so it really reinforces what you've told us today and what we've heard in the past.
Right now we're at Riverside Cemetery, and we're helping pull up weeds and fill in mulch in one of the little gardens that they have.
History means to respect our past and respect what used to be and treat it like it's significant and mixing it in with what's current.
History means learning about the past and like learning from the people that have come before us because it's what's brought us to where we are today.
History's awesome, man. Going on these trips and being able to experience everything that we get to experience is nothing else. It's like nothing else. It's awesome.
What I learned from this is like different opinions and how we can better our community and how we can change the world and change how we get around.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming, our distinguished panel, and we are delighted that you can hear the recommendations of our Youth Summit kids.
Through this experience, we learned about, the challenges that, balancing transportation and the need to get people through the flow and, versus protecting neighborhoods and, places that need to be protected, historic areas, and so on.
Throughout my trip here, we visited many destinations, and my suggestion applies to all of them. And I'm going to focus on 4 Mile House today. And I thought it was interesting on how they preserved Native American traditions and they kept the history alive on how people lived hundreds of years ago. But I feel like it lacked more hands-on activities, and I feel like if there was more hands-on involvement, it would help people be entertained and have fun, and it would increase the tourism in that area.
Students are always looking for service opportunities, and administrators and counselors can make opportunities such as Riverside Cemetery more available to the students.
And one of our ideas was that we can add new attractions to historical buildings without taking away from the historical focal point. We also want to disperse the large amount of traffic coming from DIA to Denver to multiple sites, because you don't want one historical area to get all the popularity while leaving another site neglected.
We hope that there is technology to get the word out and to get people involved, but we also feel that it's important to restore the historic site to its former glory and keep it historic.
But I want to ask that when you walk out Tattered Cover today, you stand for a moment, because one of the icons of this week is across from you, Union Station, that center of transportation which we've been talking about all week. But make sure you carry that with you and take 5. Talk to 5 people, a business person, a parent, a relative, another friend, and somebody who can make a difference in what happens in your state over the next week. Tell them not only what you did, but tell them what they can do to make the change.
Preservation is saving.
Preservation is key.
To me, preservation is reflection.
Preservation is maintaining.
Preservation is roots.
To me, preservation is caring.
Preservation is the future.